Our weapons work because they are threats. The council chambers were in chaos. Representatives from 800 civilizations shouted at each other, demanding explanations, assigning blame, calling for action. High Arbiter Velthun stood at his elevated platform, his mandibles clicking in agitation, trying to restore order. It was not working. Silence, he roared, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Slowly, reluctantly, the noise died down. We will address this crisis with dignity and reason, not like barbarians. Counselor Mirex, a being from the Thelen species, rose to speak. He was one of the few who had voted against humanity's subjugation. High Arbiter, the facts are clear. Frontier Station Delta 7, one of our most secure military installations, has fallen to human forces in less than 30 minutes. 50 warships failed to respond effectively. Our shields were useless. Our weapons never fired a shot. And worst of all, the humans broadcast the entire battle across the Galactic Information Network. Billions of beings watched us be defeated. It was a lucky strike, Velthun insisted. A surprise attack using treacherous tactics. It means nothing. It means everything, Mirex countered. Because now every subject species in the galaxy knows that the Council can be beaten. Already we are receiving reports of unrest, protest on subject worlds, demands for independence, species questioning why they submit to our authority. Another representative stood, a Pilthian like Governor Nexus. The solution is simple. We send the Grand Fleet. We crush the human military. We bombard their worlds until they beg for mercy. We make an example that will terrify any other species considering resistance. The chamber erupted in shouts of agreement and disagreement. Velthun's mandibles clicked faster, a sign of stress in his species. On Earth, in the bunker beneath Sol, Admiral Taehyung watched a recording of the council session with interest. The humans had managed to hack into the council's communication systems, another thing the council had not believed possible. Commander Yunji Nam stood beside him, taking notes. They are scared, Yunji observed. She was 40 years old with short dark hair and eyes that seemed to see through people. As head of human intelligence, she understood psychology better than anyone in the military. Look at how they are reacting. Anger, denial, demands for revenge. These are not the responses of a confident power. These are the responses of a bully who has been punched in the face for the first time. Can we use that? Taehyung asked. We already are, Yunji replied with a small smile. Remember the prisoners we took at Delta 7? We have been allowing them to send messages home. Short videos, personal communications. They talk about their treatment, about how the humans provided medical care, about how they were given food and water, about how Captain Doyen personally assured them they would be returned safely. She pulled up several message transcripts on her display. These messages are spreading through council networks faster than their propaganda teams can suppress them. Council citizens are asking questions. Why did the humans treat our soldiers better than our own commanders sometimes do? If humans are so barbaric, why did they show such mercy? If they are so primitive, how did they defeat us so easily? And the archives from the Silent Alliance? Taehyung asked. Even better, Yunji said, switching to another display. Ambassador Kim released 300 years of documented council atrocities. Forced labor, cultural genocide, systematic oppression, all backed up with evidence that cannot be dismissed. The council's propaganda machine is working overtime to discredit the information, but the damage is done. Too many beings have seen it. Too many are asking uncomfortable questions. So we have won the information war, Taehyung said, but they are still preparing a military response. War Master Krell is assembling the Grand Fleet, 500 warships representing 40 different council species. They will be here in 2 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks to be ready, Yunji replied. The question is, what is our strategy? We cannot defeat 500 warships in direct combat even with Ghostfire weapons. Taehyung smiled. It was the smile of a man who had been planning for exactly this scenario. Commander, have you ever heard of guerrilla warfare? Hit-and-run tactics, Yunji replied. Strike where the enemy is weak, retreat before they can respond. Never fight a battle you cannot win. It is how inferior forces have defeated superior armies throughout human history. Exactly, Taehyung said. The Council thinks in terms of grand battles, fleet engagements, decisive confrontations. They expect us to defend our worlds and wait for them to arrive. We will not do that. He pulled up a star map showing human space and the surrounding sectors. We have 900 ships now, spread across 50 locations. The Council has 500 ships, but they are moving together in one fleet. That is a mistake. A big, slow target. Yunji studied the map. You want to hit their supply lines, their communication relays, their infrastructure. More than that, Taehyung said. I want to make them chase us across the galaxy. Every time they move toward a target, we hit them somewhere else. Every time they try to mass their forces, we disperse. We turn this into a war of attrition that they cannot win because they cannot even find us. That is a dangerous game, Yunji warned. If we make a mistake, if they catch one of our fleets, they will destroy it. Then we do not make mistakes, Taehyung replied. And we make sure they understand the cost of continuing this war. For every ship they destroy, we destroy 10 of theirs. For every colony they threaten, we cripple their infrastructure. We make the price of subjugating humanity higher than they are willing to pay. Across the galaxy, on the Council Military Headquarters Station, War Master Krell reviewed reports with growing unease. Krell was Granix, a species of large reptilian beings known for their strategic thinking. He had been War Master for 30 years, and in that time he had crushed 7 rebellions and pacified 20 subject worlds. But something about the human situation bothered him. The Grand Fleet is assembled? He asked his aide. Yes, War Master. 512 vessels from 40 species. The largest military force assembled in 200 years. And our intelligence on human fleet positions? The aide hesitated. Uncertain, War Master. Our scouts have identified approximately 200 human vessels, but their locations keep changing. They seem to be constantly moving, never staying in one place for more than a few hours. Krell's eyes narrowed. They are preparing to scatter. They know they cannot face us in direct combat, so they will avoid it. This will not be a war of battles. This will be a war of ambushes. Then we should divide our forces, the aide suggested. Cover more territory, hunt them down in smaller groups. No, Krell said sharply. That is what they want us to do. Divide our strength so they can defeat us in detail. The humans understand something that most council species have forgotten. Sometimes the weaker force wins not by being stronger, but by making the stronger force weaker. He stared at the display showing the assembled Grand Fleet. 500 ships, enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds. And yet he felt uncertain. These humans were different. They thought differently. They fought differently. They broke rules that other species did not even know could be broken. Send a message to the fleet commanders, Krell ordered. Maximum vigilance. Triple sensor sweeps. Assume the humans know our every move and are planning accordingly, and remind them that the enemy we face is not primitive or weak. They are innovative and desperate. That makes them more dangerous than any foe we have faced in centuries. On Earth, Ambassador Minho Kim stood before a gathering of world leaders. The room was tense. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate. All of them were scared. The council is coming, Minho said simply. In 2 weeks, the largest military fleet in living memory will arrive in our space. They will demand our surrender. They will threaten our worlds. They will expect us to be terrified. And we should be, one leader said. We are 50 years old as a spacefaring civilization. They are thousands of years old. How can we possibly win? By remembering who we are, Minho replied. Humans have faced extinction dozens of times in our history. Ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. Every time we survived, not because we were stronger than our challenges, but because we refused to give up. He activated a display showing messages from across the galaxy. Something is happening out there. Subject species are watching us. They are seeing that resistance is possible. They are asking questions their governments cannot answer. Some are even beginning to organize to demand their own freedom. So we are not alone, another leader said. We were never alone, Minho corrected. There have always been beings who valued freedom over safety. We just gave them hope that freedom was possible. Now we need to prove it, not just for ourselves, but for every species that the Council has ever oppressed. He looked around the room, meeting each leader's eyes. The Council made a mistake when they tried to make us subjects. They thought we would be like all the others, compliant, defeated, grateful for their protection. They did not understand that humans have never accepted anyone else's authority over our own fate. Not from kings. Not from dictators, not from gods, and certainly not from an alliance of aliens who think they know what is best for us. So what do we do? A leader asked. We fight, Minho said simple. Frontier Station Delta 7 hung in space like a metal flower, its 8 arms extending from a central hub. Each arm contained weapon platforms, shield generators and sensor arrays capable of detecting ships across half the sector. 50 warships orbited the station in perfect formation, their crews confident and relaxed. Nothing had ever threatened Delta 7, and nothing ever would. Sentinel Prax stood in the command center of the station reviewing reports. He was Vrelian, a species known throughout the Council for their military prowess. He stood nearly 2 meters tall, with dark blue skin and 4 arms, each strong enough to bend steel. For 20 years he had commanded Delta 7. In that time, not a single unauthorized vessel had entered his sector. "Sentinel," his communications officer called out. "We are receiving the daily report from Earth. Governor Nexus confirms that human military forces are complying with all directives. Their encryption codes have been transferred, and their research facilities are being inspected." "Excellent," Prax replied. "The humans are wise to accept their new status. War would have been unfortunate." He paused. "Unfortunate for them, at least." The other officers laughed. It was an old joke among Council military personnel. Subject species always threatened resistance at first, but they always surrendered in the end. The Council's power was simply too great to oppose. What Prax did not know was that 3 million kilometers away, hidden behind an asteroid field, 20 human vessels were powering up their systems. They had been there for 2 days, running on minimal power to avoid detection, waiting for the perfect moment. On the bridge of the ESS Retribution, Captain Doyen Kang reviewed the plan one final time. He was 38 years old, lean and intense, with the controlled movements of someone who had spent years in special forces. His crew called him the Ghost because of his ability to appear where enemies least expected him. "Status," Doyen said quietly. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer replied. "Ghostfire weapons are charged. Stealth systems are active. Delta 7 has no indication we are here." "Good," Doyen said. "Remember, this is not about destroying the station. This is about sending a message. We show strength, but we offer mercy. We prove we can win, but we prove we are not monsters." He opened a channel to the other ships in his strike force. "All vessels, this is Retribution. Operation Thunderbreak is go. Execute jump in 3, 2, 1 now." 20 human ships activated their FTL drives simultaneously. But instead of jumping to a distant location, they made a micro-jump, a maneuver that Council tacticians considered impossible and suicidal. The mathematics required were absurdly complex, the risk of collision catastrophic, and the energy requirements enormous. But humans had spent 5 years perfecting the technique, using it for search and rescue operations in Earth's solar system. Now they were using it for war. 20 ships appeared directly above Frontier Station Delta 7, so close that their hulls were practically touching the station's outer shields. The Council sensors, designed to detect ships at long range, had no time to react. The station's weapons, designed to track and target vessels during approach, found themselves pointed in completely the wrong direction. In the command center, alarms shrieked. Prax stared at his displays in disbelief. How did they get so close?" "Unknown, Sentinel," his sensor officer shouted. "They just appeared. Right on top of us. Raise shields! Power weapons! Launch all fighters!" But even as he gave the orders, Doyen's fleet was already attacking. Ghostfire weapons fired, brilliant streams of energy that should have been absorbed harmlessly by Delta 7's powerful shields. Instead, the energy passed through the shields like they did not exist, striking the weapon platforms directly. On the Retribution's bridge, Doyen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Just like Dr. Lee said, their shields might as well be made of paper. One by one, Delta 7's weapon platforms went dark, not destroyed but disabled, their power systems overloaded by the unexpected energy frequencies. The Council ships tried to maneuver, to bring their weapons to bear, but the human vessels were already moving, using the station itself as cover. "Sentinel," Prax's communications officer called out. "The human vessels are jamming all our communications. We cannot reach the Council fleet. We cannot call for reinforcements." Prax felt something he had not experienced in 20 years of military service. Fear. Not fear of death, which was honorable. Fear of the unknown. These humans were doing things that should not be possible, fighting in ways that violated every tactical doctrine he had ever learned. A new voice came over the station's speakers, speaking in clear Council standard. "Frontier Station Delta 7, this is Captain Doyen Kang of the Earth Systems Alliance. Your weapons are disabled. Your communications are blocked. Your reinforcements cannot reach you, but you are not in immediate danger. We have no desire to kill you. Prax grabbed the communication controls. Human vessel, you are attacking a council military installation. This is an act of war. No, Doyon replied, his voice calm. This is an act of self-defense. The council declared war on us when they took our freedom. We are simply responding. You cannot win. The council has 800 member species, thousands of warships. You are 50 ships facing an entire galaxy. We are one species facing 800 who chose slavery over freedom, Doyon corrected. And we would rather fight as free beings than live as subjects. Now, Sentinel Prax, I'm going to offer you something the council would never offer us. A choice. Prax was silent, waiting. Your weapons are disabled, Doyon continued. Your shields are useless against our weapons. We could destroy this station and everyone on it, but we will not do that. Instead, I am offering you and your crew the chance to surrender. Lay down your weapons and you will be treated as prisoners of war, according to human military law. You will be housed safely, fed properly, and returned to your homes when this conflict ends. You have my word as an officer. And if we refuse? Prax asked, though he already knew his position was hopeless. Then we will systematically destroy every system on this station until you have no choice but to surrender anyway, Doyon said. But people will die. Your people. Is your pride worth their lives? Prax looked around his command center. His officers were watching him, waiting for orders. They were brave, all of them. They would fight if he commanded it. But to what purpose? The station was already lost. The battle was already over. All that remained was whether they died with honor or lived to fight another day. How do I know you will keep your word? Prax demanded. How do I know this is not a trick? There was a pause. Then Doyon said something that shocked every being on the station. Because humans have a rule about prisoners of war. We treat them the way we would want to be treated if our positions were reversed. It is called the Geneva Convention, and it is over 300 years old. We have been thinking about the ethics of war for a very long time, Sentinel. We know how to show mercy. Prax was silent for a long moment. He thought of his crew, of the families they had left behind, of the duty he owed not just to the council but to the beings under his command. He thought of the strange humans who could appear from nowhere, who could pierce shields that had protected council vessels for centuries, who could win a battle in minutes that should have taken hours. I accept your terms, Prax said finally. The station surrenders. But I want it noted in your records that we did so to prevent unnecessary loss of life, not out of cowardice. Noted and recorded, Doyon replied. And Sentinel, for what it is worth, I think you made a brave decision. It takes courage to surrender when you could fight. Have your crew assemble in the main hangar. We will send boarding parties to secure the station. Over the next hour, human Marines swept through Delta 7, securing weapons and gathering prisoners. They moved with professional efficiency, treating the surrendered council troops with courtesy and respect. Medical teams treated the wounded, both human and alien. Engineers began assessing which systems could be safely reactivated. Prax watched it all with a strange mixture of emotions. These humans had defeated him utterly, but they were not gloating or cruel. They were professional, almost businesslike. They provided food and water for the prisoners. They allowed the wounded to be treated by their own medical personnel. They even let Prax keep his rank insignia, saying that a warrior's honor should be respected. When Captain Doyon came aboard the station, Prax met him in the hangar. Up close, the human was smaller than Prax expected, barely reaching the Vrelian's shoulder. But his eyes were hard and confident. Captain, Prax said formally, the station is yours. But I must know. How did you do it? The micro-jump, the shield penetration, the jamming. How does a species so new to the galaxy have such advanced technology? Doyon smiled slightly. We do not have advanced technology, Sentinel. We have different technology. The Council has been using the same systems for centuries, perfecting them, making them more efficient. But you stopped innovating. You stopped taking risks. You stopped asking, what if we tried something new? He gestured to the retribution visible through the hangar's force field. That ship uses principles of physics that most Council species decided were too dangerous to explore. The shields you use are elegant and efficient, but they only protect against known threats. Cirque was silent for a long moment. Then he bared his teeth in what humans had. Elder Cirque, she said. Humanity spent most of its history doing things everyone said were impossible. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We flew when people said we were too heavy. We went to the moon when people said it was too far. We built weapons that could destroy worlds, and then we chose not to use them because we decided they were wrong. Every step of our history has been someone telling us that something could not be done, and us doing it anyway. She paused, letting her words settle. The Council thinks they know us. They think they understand us. They think we will behave like every other species they have conquered. They are wrong. And at Delta 7 we are going to prove exactly how wrong they are. Cirque was silent for a long moment. Then he bared his teeth in what humans had learned was a etheric smile. Very well, Commander. I will give you everything we have. And I will pray to my ancestors that your confidence is justified. It will be, Heejin said. Because we are not just fighting for humanity. We are fighting for everyone the Council has ever oppressed. We are fighting to prove that freedom is worth the risk. And that is worth any odds. As the data transfer began, Heejin felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear, certainly. The weight of responsibility. But also something she had not expected. Hope. Real hope. For the first time since the decree. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They had given humanity a reason to go to war. And now, they were about to discover why that was the last thing they should have done. The Kepler sector was far from any Council worlds. A region of space filled with young stars and dense nebulae that made long-range scanning difficult. It was the perfect place to hide secrets. Commander Heejin Park guided the Defiance through the swirling clouds of gas and dust, following coordinates that Ambassador Kim had provided. Contact ahead, Lieutenant Bora reported. Multiple ships, various designs. They are not powering weapons. Good, Heejin said. They are expecting us. Open a channel. A face appeared on the view screen. It was Elder Cirque, the Therix representative who had helped Ambassador Kim. His reptilian features were hard to read, but his voice was warm. Commander Park, welcome to the last free place in the galaxy. Please dock with the station ahead. We have much to discuss. The station was unlike anything Heejin had seen before. It was not built with the elegant lines of Council architecture or the functional design of human engineering. Instead, it looked like it had been assembled from parts of 100 different vessels, welded together over many years. But the sensors showed it was fully functional, with power generation, life support, and surprisingly strong shields. Heejin took a small team with her, including Bora and 2 security officers. They docked and entered through an airlock that cycled slowly, adjusting the atmosphere to human needs. On the other side, Elder Cirque waited with several other beings. Welcome to Sanctuary Station, Cirque said. For 300 years, this place has been our secret. A place where subject species could meet, share information, and remember what freedom felt like. Heejin looked around the docking bay. It was crowded with beings from dozens of species, all going about various tasks. Some were repairing equipment. Others were studying displays of data. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. They are curious about you, Cirque explained. In 3 centuries, no one has challenged the Council. You are either very brave or very foolish. Many here are trying to decide which. Perhaps we are both, Heejin replied. Can you show me what you have collected? Cirque led them deeper into the station. They passed through corridors lined with storage units and small living quarters. Finally, they reached a large central chamber filled with display screens and data terminals. A dozen beings worked at various stations, but they all stopped when Cirque entered. This is our archive, Cirque said, gesturing to the displays. Everything we have learned about the Council in 300 years. Fleet movements, ship designs, command structures, military tactics, weapon capabilities, and most importantly, their weaknesses. Bora moved to the nearest terminal and began examining the data. Her eyes widened. This is incredible. You have the complete specifications for Council shield generators, power systems, communication protocols. With this information, we can predict their movements, intercept their communications, target their vulnerabilities. That is why we gathered it, said a voice behind them. Heejin turned to see a being made of crystalline structures, light refracting through its body in rainbow patterns. I am Vel of the Shimmerfolk. I was a scientist before my world became a subject. Now I use my knowledge to document our oppressors. Why have you never used this information yourselves? Heejin asked. With this data, you could have fought back. Vel's light dimmed, a sign of sadness in their species. Because we are afraid, Commander. The Council controls everything we need to survive. Exotic matter for our FTL drives comes from Council mines. Advanced medical technology comes from Council research stations. Even the food production systems for our deep space colonies are based on Council designs. If we rebel, they can cut us off from all of it. Our civilizations would collapse. But humanity is different, Cirque added. You developed all of your technology independently. You do not need Council resources. You can survive, even thrive, without them. That is why you are dangerous to them, and that is why you are our hope. Hee-Jin felt the weight of their expectations. These beings had suffered under Council rule for generations, and now they were putting their trust in a species that had known of the galaxy's existence for barely 15 years. Show me everything, Hee-Jin said. I want to understand exactly what we are facing. For the next 6 hours, Hee-Jin and Bora studied the archive. They learned that the Council military was massive but slow to adapt. The same tactical formations had been used for centuries. The same ship designs with only minor modifications. The same strategic doctrines, taught to every Council officer in identical academies. They learned that Council species rarely fought together effectively. Each species had its own traditions, its own chain of command, its own way of doing things. The Council managed this by keeping different species separated in different fleets, which meant coordinated operations were difficult. Most importantly, they learned about the Council's greatest weakness: complacency. For 400 years, the Council had fought only species weaker than themselves. They had never faced a peer opponent. They had never needed to innovate or adapt. They had become so confident in their superiority that they had stopped preparing for serious threats. This changes everything, Bora said, reviewing tactical data. With Ghostfire weapons and this intelligence, we can not only defend ourselves. We can win, perhaps, Cirque said cautiously. But remember, Commander, the Council has 800 member species. Even if you can defeat their military, the sheer number of their worlds and ships makes total victory nearly impossible. We do not need total victory, Hee-Jin replied, an idea forming in her mind. We just need to prove that resistance is possible. We need to show the galaxy that the Council can be beaten. Once other species see that, they might find their courage. Vel's crystalline body brightened, a sign of excitement. A demonstration. Not to conquer, but to inspire. Yes, that could work, but it would require a significant victory, something that cannot be dismissed or hidden by Council propaganda. Then that is what we will give them, Hee-Jin said. She turned to Cirque. Elder, I need your help. I need to know where the Council's forces are concentrating, where they are preparing to strike at Earth. I need to know where we can hit them first. Cirque moved to a large display. The Council is assembling a control fleet at Frontier Station Delta 7. It is positioned between Council space and your outer colonies. From there, they plan to enforce the occupation of your worlds. The station has 50 warships stationed there permanently, with more arriving each day. What are its defenses? Hee-Jin asked. Powerful shields, orbital weapon platforms, sensor arrays that can detect approaching vessels from hundreds of light years away. Cirque paused. It is by any standard measure impregnable, Hee-Jin smiled. It was the smile of someone who had just been presented with an impossible challenge and was already figuring out how to accomplish it. Perfect. That is exactly the kind of target we need. Bora looked at her commander with concern. Sir, with respect, attacking Delta 7 would be suicide. Even with Ghostfire weapons, we would be outnumbered and outgunned. Only if we fight them the way they expect us to fight, Hee-Jin replied. She turned to Cirque. The Council has been using the same sensor technology for centuries, correct? Yes, Cirque confirmed. They scan for FTL signatures, energy emissions, mass displacement. And they have never encountered a species that can mask those signatures? No species in the galaxy has that capability. No Council species, Hee-Jin corrected. But humans have been developing stealth technology for hundreds of years. On Earth, we call it going dark. And I think it is time we showed the Council what happens when an enemy they cannot see decides to attack. She turned to address everyone in the archive room. My people have a saying, the best defense is a good offense. The Council expects us to defend our worlds and wait for them to come to us. Instead, we are going to strike first. We are going to hit them where they are strongest, prove that their defenses mean nothing, and show every subject species in the galaxy that the Council is not invincible. This is very dangerous, Vel said quietly. If you fail, the Council will use it as justification for harsh measures, not just against humanity but against anyone who sympathizes with you. Then we will not fail. Hyojin said simply. Elder Cirque, I need detailed specifications for Delta 7. Every sensor position, every shield generator, every weapon platform. Can you provide that? I can, Cirque said. But Commander, even with all this information, the odds of success are small. Hyojin looked at the gathered beings, at their faces filled with hope and fear. She thought of Earth, of the billions who were depending on her. She thought of Admiral Taehyung and Dr. Jiwon and all the people who had worked so hard to prepare for this moment. Elder Cirque, she said, humanity spent most of its history doing things everyone said were impossible. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We flew when people said we were too heavy. We went to the moon when people said it was too far. We built weapons that could destroy worlds, and then we chose not to use them because we decided they were wrong. Every step of our history has been someone telling us that something could not be done, and us doing it anyway. She paused, letting her words settle. The Council thinks they know us. They think they understand us. They think we will behave like every other species they have conquered. They are wrong. And at Delta 7, we are going to prove exactly how wrong they are. 3 weeks had passed since the Council's decree. Commander Hyojin Park stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, watching through the view screen as Council ships approached Earth's orbital space. They moved in perfect formation, gleaming silver vessels that looked more like art than weapons of war. There were dozens of them, and more were arriving every hour. Status report, Hyojin said calmly, though her hands were clenched behind her back. Lieutenant Bora Shin looked up from her console. She was young, barely 25, but she was the best tactical analyst Hyojin had ever worked with. 32 Council vessels in orbit, Commander. Another 50 holding position at the edge of the system. They are not powering weapons, but their shields are active. They want us to know they could destroy us if they chose to, Hyojin said. But they want our surrender, not our destruction. Dead subjects are not useful subjects. On the planet below, in a bunker deep beneath Seoul, Admiral Taehyung Cho watched the same displays. He was a broad man with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. For 40 years he had served in Earth's military, rising from a simple soldier to Supreme Commander of the United Defense Forces. In all that time he had prepared for many enemies. He had never imagined this one. A communication request appeared on his screen. Governor Nexus, the Council's appointed overseer. Taehyung accepted the call. The alien's face filled the screen. Nexus was humanoid with gray skin and large dark eyes. His species, the Pilthians, were known throughout the galaxy for their administrative skills. They ran the Council's bureaucracy, and they were very good at managing conquered peoples. Admiral Cho, Nexus said in perfect English. The Council had excellent translation technology. I trust you have received our instructions. I have read them, Taehyung replied carefully. Then you understand what is required. All military encryption codes are to be transferred to Council authority. All research facilities are to be opened for inspection. All weapons development programs are to be terminated immediately. Council advisors will be assigned to oversee all government functions. That would leave Earth completely defenseless, Taehyung said. You do not need defenses. Nexus replied with what might have been a smile. The Council protects its subjects. That is the entire purpose of your new status. We will keep you safe. Safe from what? Taehyung asked. We were managing quite well on our own. Nexus's smile faded. Admiral, I understand this is difficult for your people, but resistance will only make things worse. The Council has dealt with thousands of species over thousands of years. We know what is best. Now I will arrive on Earth's surface in 6 hours. I expect full cooperation. The communication ended. Taehyung sat back in his chair, staring at the dark screen. Then he pressed a button on his desk. Send in Dr. Lee. A moment later, the door opened and a small woman entered. Dr. Jiwon Lee was 42 years old, though she looked younger. She wore glasses she did not really need because she said they helped her think. As the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Research Division, she was one of the most important people on the planet. You saw the conversation? Taehyung asked. I did, Jiwon replied, sitting down without being asked. He wants access to our research facilities. He cannot have it. He has 500 warships and the backing of 800 civilizations, Taehyung said. I am not sure we can refuse, Jiwon smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Admiral, how much of our actual fleet does the Council know about? Taehyung considered. They have scanned our orbital stations, our moon bases, our Mars colony. They have seen perhaps 200 vessels. And how many vessels do we actually have? 937 combat-capable ships, Taehyung said. But most of them are scattered across the outer colonies and deep space installations. We hid them as soon as Ambassador Kim sent his warning. Exactly, Ji-won said, pulling a small data device from her pocket. And those ships are equipped with something the Council has never seen. Something I have been working on for 5 years in facilities that do not officially exist. She activated the device, projecting a hologram into the air between them. It showed a ship's weapon system, but the design was unlike anything in Earth's public arsenal. What am I looking at? Taehyung asked. Project Ghostfire, Ji-won replied. A weapon system that exploits a fundamental flaw in the energy shield technology used by every species in the Council. Taehyung leaned forward. What kind of flaw? The Council's shield technology has not changed in over 400 years, Ji-won explained. They found a design that worked and they stopped innovating. Every Council species uses the same basic shield frequency range. It makes their shields compatible with their ships, but it also makes them predictable. And you found a way around it? I found a way through it, Ji-won corrected. Ghostfire weapons operate on frequencies that the Council shields were never designed to block. To them, our weapons will appear to pass right through their defenses like they were not even there. Taehyung stared at the hologram. Have you tested this? In simulations hundreds of times. Against captured Council shield generators 3 times. It works, Admiral. It works perfectly. How many ships have been equipped with Ghostfire? All of our hidden fleet, Ji-won said. 740 vessels. The rest are being retrofitted now. Taehyung sat back, his mind racing through possibilities and consequences. If we use these weapons, we will be at war with the entire galaxy. We are already at war, Ji-won replied. The Council just has not realized it yet. They think we are defeated because we appear weak. They think we will surrender because everyone else did. They are wrong. A chime from Taehyung's console interrupted them. It was Commander Hyejin calling from the Defiance. Admiral, Hyejin said when he answered. Governor Nexus has sent an advance team to Earth's surface. They want to tour our primary military installations. What are your orders? Taehyung looked at Ji-won, who nodded. Show them what they want to see, Taehyung said. Take them to the Anderson base, the Luna station, the Mars shipyards. Give them the full tour, sir. Hyejin sounded confused. Those facilities contain sensitive information. No, Commander, Taehyung said with a slight smile. Those facilities contain what we want them to see. Old technology, obsolete vessels, decommissioned weapon systems. Let them think they understand our capabilities. Hyejin was quiet for a moment. Then he heard her understanding in her voice. A deception. A strategic misdirection, Taehyung corrected. The Council thinks we are primitive. Let them keep thinking that. Meanwhile, Commander, I have new orders for you. Take the Defiance and rendezvous with the Kepler fleet. There are people you need to meet. The Silent Alliance, Hyejin asked. Ambassador Kim has arranged a meeting. They have information we need. Intelligence about Council fleet movements, military capabilities, command structures. Everything we need to plan our response. And what will that response be, Admiral? Taehyung glanced at Ji-won, then back at the screen. We are going to do something no species has done in 300 years, Commander. We are going to tell the Council no, and we are going to make them understand what that means. 6 hours later, Governor Nexus landed on Earth. He was greeted with full diplomatic honors, a military escort, and the complete cooperation he had demanded. Admiral Taehyung personally showed him through Earth's military facilities, answering every question, providing every requested document. Nexus was impressed by human organization, if not by their technology. Their weapons were crude, their ships outdated, their defenses laughable by Council standards. He filed his report with confidence. Earth would pose no problem. The humans would accept their place in the galactic order, just like all the others. What Nexus did not know was that while he was touring Earth's public facilities, Commander Hyejin was meeting with representatives of the Silent Alliance in a hidden station on the edge of known space. He did not know about Project Ghostfire or the Hidden Fleet, or the fact that Earth's best scientists had been analyzing Council technology for years, looking for weaknesses. He did not know that in bunkers deep beneath Earth's surface, military planners were drawing up strategies for a war the Council thought impossible. He did not know that humanity's industrial capacity, built up over centuries of isolated development, could produce weapons and ships faster than any council species had managed in generations. Most importantly, he did not know that while he was writing his report about humanity's compliance, Admiral Taehyung was activating Operation Thunderbreak, a military plan that had been in development since the moment Ambassador Kim had sent his warning 3 weeks ago. The Council had made many mistakes in their long history, but their greatest mistake was believing that humanity's history of warfare made them dangerous to others. The truth was simpler and far more terrifying. Humanity's history of warfare had made them very, very good at it. And now, the Council was about to learn the difference between fighting species who had been peaceful for centuries and fighting a species who had never stopped preparing for the next war. Governor Nexus sent his report and went to sleep in his comfortable quarters in Geneva, confident that Earth was secure. He would wake in the morning to discover that everything had changed. The war for humanity's freedom was about to begin,